Andrew Hughes, Nicolas Kokkalis, and Leah Callan Butler.
Woo! Oh, I love it when we've got hecklers down the front. Fantastic. What a great way to start. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Look, between deepfakes, AI agents, and a wave of social engineering attacks, proving your identity is becoming one of the most important and hardest problems to solve in crypto. Because it's complicated, right? You know, we want assurance that we know who or what we're interacting with, but at the same time, we don't want to have to give up our privacy. So how do we prove humanness without creating a surveillance state? And what I love about this panel is we've got three people who are approaching this problem from very different angles, which I think reflects reality. You know, there probably isn't a single silver bullet here. We're going to be looking at a spectrum of solutions across cryptographic, social, behavioral, reputational, and even cultural. So to kick us off, and I guess just to ground this conversation, and to make sure that we're all on the same page, I thought we could actually just explain what we mean when we talk about proving that we're human or you're human online today, and what does proof of humanity actually mean to you? I know that's a big question, but you guys must be talking about this a lot. Do you want to kick us off, Daniela?
Sure. So I'm Daniela Barbosa. I'm the executive director at the Linux Foundation for LF Decentralized Trust, which is an umbrella
Linux,
of open source projects, standards, and specs.
Remember Raspberry Pi? I told you.
Decentralized identity, interoperability, cryptography, and many other categories of what we call decentralized technologies, which really touch a lot of what we're going to be talking today, which is identity and proving not only who you are as a human, like I'm a human, I'm online, but also solving trust. You know, how do you trust, whether that is an agent or a human? How do you build trust into the models? Accountability. So what happens when either the individual or their agent or something else goes, you know, rogue for a while? And how do you really do that with privacy-preserving methods? Meaning that I am not displaying, you know, all sorts of private information and PMI, but I'm really only verifying the pieces. So I'm proving that I'm human, I'm proving that I can be trusted, I'm proving that what I'm doing has accountability, so proof of authority essentially to do that, and then I'm also proving, or I have the benefits of privacy as part of that.
Andrew, Nick, would you like to add to that?
Sure. Andrew Hughes, VP of Global Standards at FaceTech. FaceTech is a face biometrics company that can detect the difference between a real person, human being, and any kind of fake on the other side of the camera. So we don't get into the can you trust the person as an individual. We just prove that it's a human being. And then our customers take it from that point. So the title of this panel speaks about humanity and the identification data that we all know and love. But we have a very, very tiny piece of proof of human being so that the trust process can extend from there. We give you that human root of trust to complement the digital and cryptographic root of trust from private keys and PKI and blockchains.
Hi, Nicolas Kokkalis, one of the two founders of Pi Network, which is a layer 1 blockchain protocol. And it has the special property that every single account on the blockchain is already KYC. So I think to answer your question, I also want to step back a little bit and say that it depends on the purpose. So in some cases, you need to know who exactly the person is. Like if someone goes to the bank and wants to withdraw money, you really need to know who exactly the person is. In other cases, you need to know whether what's the act of that is being conducted, whether it's happening by a human or a bot.
Yeah.
And in other cases, you want to know whether there are unique people behind a situation. So, like for example, if you had ratings on an online system, you don't want to allocate 1,000 ratings, 1,000 different product reviews to one act who created 1,000 bots. You want to give more fairness, everyone's voice.
Just one more question, I guess, on foundational. The second part of this title is not doxing yourself. When we talk about that, are we saying, I doubt it's that people necessarily need to be completely anon on the internet, or is it more kind of about wanting personal control over your data, having the option of selective disclosure? How do you draw that line in terms of what is not doxing yourself?
So I'll start. So I'm assuming everyone's gone through the ceremony of taking a picture of your driver's license front and back, taking a selfie, and you get the green check mark. You're the person represented by the document.
Anytime.
That's great. Where does the data go? So now whoever it was doing that KYC process, ID verification process, has a copy of that data. There are no rules that are universal for how long they should keep those images of your identification data, and the fact that that face and that timestamp and that context happened. A recent case where many French people were doxxed accidentally. The France ministry that deals with digital identity and issuance of credentials was hacked, and there was a database breach. And of course, all the audit images that they were required to keep for some period of time, they were just stolen. So that's, to me, what the doxing part is you go through a process to gain trustworthiness in the system without any direct knowledge of what happens to the data afterwards, and just not protected properly or expunged quickly. That's the doxing problem.
Yeah, I will echo that. And I want to say that when people are thinking of not doxing your identity, especially in a crypto conference, their mind immediately goes into ZK proofs, such as advanced techniques like ZK Starks, and bulletproofs and things like that. But even though these techniques are a little more advanced, you need to mathematically convert your problem into a formula and then polynomial computations and other things. But in practice, you can have zero knowledge with existing primitives we all know and understand. Let me give you a very quick example. So imagine in the traditional world, you want to buy alcohol, so you go to the store. What you do is you give your driving license, and you're essentially showing all of your data for no reason, because all they need to know is whether you're above 21 or not. And instead they're getting your home address, your date of birth, everything. Now, if you were to do this in a zero knowledge way, you could actually have a KYC authority, let's say the PI KYC authority. And that authority can provide you a statement, you are more than 21, about 21 years old, and give you the cryptographic signature of that statement, together with for example, your Face ID data. And then all you need to do is you need to provide that statement, and the recipient can check whether the signature is coming from the trusted third party in this case. And you've already proven that you are above 21 without delivering more information that's necessary.
And just to quickly follow on to that, I forgot to say I work on international standards at the ISO level, and specifically the mobile driver's license, the one that you can use at some TSA checkpoints at airports, the same one. We've built that into that credential format. So we have over 21 flags, and that's all you have to send.